Are you searching for the best dividend ETF for 2024? In this video, I'll be revealing the best dividend ETF to invest in based on the history of its past performance and of course the quality dividends. This dividend ETF is up over 200% since its inception date, which dates back to the year 2011, and it is currently beating the S&P 500 when looking at the past 10 years. There are over 100 dividend ETFs listed on the US stock market. In fact, according to Google, there are currently 168 dividend ETFs that are publicly traded on the US stock market. Now, filtering through them could be overwhelming, let alone finding the best one. Finding the perfect one could set you up for financial success and make you filthy rich throughout the long run. So before revealing the best dividend ETF to invest in, let me first explain two important things every stock investor should know before spending a dollar into a dividend ETF. And that is A, what is an ETF, and B, what is a dividend? An exchange traded fund, or also known as an ETF, is a kind of investment fund that combines the characteristics of individual stocks and mutual funds into one product. Similar to individual stocks, exchange traded funds, also known as ETFs, offers investors exposure to a diverse portfolio of assets, including stocks, bonds, commodities, and a combination of these. ETFs have the goal of imitating the returns of an index fund by tracking the performance of a chosen index or a basket of assets. Before I reveal the best dividend ETF to invest in, let me first explain four very important characteristics of an ETF. The first is liquidity. ETFs can be bought and sold throughout the trading day on the stock exchange at market prices, providing liquidity to investors. The second characteristic of an ETF is its diversification. ETFs typically hold a basket of assets, which help investors achieve diversification and spread out risk, and tends to be much more reliable and stable during hard times in the market. And third is transparency. The holdings of an ETF are usually disclosed daily, allowing investors to see the assets the fund holds. And lastly, lower cost. ETFs are a cost-efficient investment options because they frequently have expense ratios that are lower than those of traditional mutual funds. So now that you know the basics of an ETF, it will only be wise to know the meaning of a dividend ETF. And before you invest into one, before revealing the best dividend ETF to invest in, let me quickly explain the meaning of a dividend ETF. So a dividend ETF is a specific type of ETF that focuses on investing into stocks that pay regular dividends to its shareholders. These ETFs may track an index composed of dividend-paying stocks or follow a specific dividend strategy. The goal is to provide investors with exposure to a diverse portfolio of companies that have a history of paying dividends. Dividend ETFs are popular among investors seeking income and dividend growth. These ETFs could be appealing for income-oriented investors because they offer a way to participate in the potential appreciation of dividend-paying stocks while also receiving regular income distributions. Dividend ETFs may target various types of dividend-paying companies, such as those with high dividend yields and consistent dividend growth, or a combination of these factors. Some of the greatest investors in our lifetime, like the great Warren Buffett, who is arguably the best investor ever, is often seen investing into dividend stocks. And did you know that dividends are a huge percentage of his stock portfolio? So that alone should tell you the importance of dividend stocks, as they have many great cons about them. So I searched across the entire internet to find the best dividend ETF out there, and you guys wouldn't believe what I found out. After spending hours of researching, looking at articles, and even on YouTube, I came across a clear winner, and as long as history repeats itself, this one dividend ETF I'm about to mention will continue to dominate against others. And I know, some of you guys may say, past performance may not be a good indicator for future performance, but this is a very safe bet I'm willing to take because after all, the US economy has always recovered, and I don't see this changing anytime soon unless there's some really bad news. The best dividend ETF is up over 200% since its inception date, following back 2011. This ETF has a very low expense ratio of just 0.060%, which is amazing because nobody likes paying high fees. So now, the moment you all been waiting for. Based on my research and past performance, this dividend ETF is SCHD, also known as the Schwab U.S. Dividend Equity ETF, stock ticker symbol SCHD. According to an article from the Lazy Portfolio ETF, they state the following. In the last 10 years, the Schwab U.S. Dividend Equity ETF obtained an 11.56% compound annual return with a 14.49 standard deviation, which means this dividend ETF is currently beating the S&P 500 index fund as of the last 10 years. Since according to NerdWallet, the S&P 500 has had an average return of 11.2% in the previous 10 years. SCHD is outperforming the market, and it will only make sense to add this stock to your stock portfolio. The Schwab U.S. Dividend Equity ETF is currently selling at $77.24 per share, and it is actually up 1.13% for the day. This ETF has an annual dividend yield of 3.44%, and investors were paid $2.66 per share last year. SCHD dividends are paid out on a quarterly basis, and the last time investors were paid was on December 6, 2023. And the next payout is quickly coming up in March. This dividend yield has actually been increasing throughout the years, and is just another reason why SCHD is a popular option when it comes to investors. When looking at SCHD's dividend growth history, we could see that in the year 2015, SCHD had a dividend payout amount of $1.14 and had a dividend yield of 3.85%. 5 years later, in the year 2020, the payout amount grew to $2.02 per share and had a dividend yield of 3.50%. To fast forward to the year 2023, the payout amount grew to $2.65 per share with a dividend yield of 3.49%. And today, SCHD pays out $2.66 per share. So based on past performance, this dividend yield will just keep on growing along with the ETF share price. Because if we look back and check out the 5-year chart, we can see that SCHD is up 49.34%, almost 50%, and on the 10-year chart it is up 115.69%, which is great and exactly just what you want on an ETF. A nice chart with an uptrend when zooming out. The last thing you want is a downtrend, which will likely lose you money. And based on this ETF past history, it should continue to perform good and compete with the market's yearly average. SCHD is one of my top positions in my stock portfolio, and I plan on keep on adding to my position by dollar cost averaging into it, especially when there's a dip. I see SCHD as a long-term ETF with tremendous growth potential for decades to come. Let me know if you guys want to see more SCHD videos, and comment down below your thoughts, and have you ever wondered how much dividends you will make by investing $5,000 into SCHD? Find out by watching this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.